H.O.P.E, Helping Orphans Prosper Through Education, is a Newfoundland-based charity that provides compassion and support to Ugandan orphans through education sponsorship. I sat down with Marjorie, one of the founders of the program, to discuss the ins and outs of this wonderful and life-changing program. So I'm here with Marjorie today. Thanks for coming in, Marjorie.
Thank you for inviting me.
Your brother told me about your organization called H.O.P.E, and I'm sure you can explain it better than I can. But generally, what's the basic outline of it, and then we'll just go from there.
Yeah, sure. Just 2 years ago, there's three of us Newfoundland women have organized our own group called H.O.P.E, and it's helping orphans prosper through education. And we developed this organization after being in Uganda twice before, and we came upon a group of orphans, who were about 26 of them. And after being there 2 years, we realized that they needed help. So from the moment we met them and fell in love with them, we knew that we needed to do something. And in the first 2 years, we were only doing minimal help, and we soon learned that you can't put Band-Aids on very critical injuries and expect them to heal. So the last time we were there in September of 2016, we decided the best way forward was to educate them. So from there, we now have 24 children in full-time boarding school in Uganda and taking care of them as best we can.
That's awesome. What took you guys to Uganda in the first place?
I went with another smaller group, and I was invited to go, and I just gladly, they said, you can go to Uganda if you'd like, and I said, sure, I'd love to go. I didn't even really realize what I was getting myself into. Didn't know the extent of it. It just seemed intriguing. It's something that I felt was a good move, and I was excited to go. And when we got there, things changed. It became very real. And the other group that we went with were interested in doing it a different way than we were. And the three of us that were there with the other group decided that education was the way, not doing small projects here, there, and everywhere. We wanted to make a significant change to these children. They needed our help. They didn't have anybody else, and we knew if we didn't do it, they would be nowhere. So we just took it on and jumped in, didn't have a clue what we were jumping ourselves into, and off we went.
So it was like a charity group that you initially went there with, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I sought out to find some support. Me and my other two friends, Marie Woodford from Avondale and Madeline Crew from Witless Bay. And Marie's a teacher, Madeline is an iron worker, and I'm an office manager. So we don't have any background in charity work. We didn't have any background in doing this type of work. We just dug our heels in and just went from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had you been to Uganda before, or like any other country in Africa?
No. Had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. And when we got there, it was poverty at its highest. The children were living in dire straits in a little brick 2-roomed home with just steel beds, not very good sanitary conditions, very, very little food, no clean water if they had any at all, no shoes on their feet, clothes that were tattered and torn, illnesses galore. We came across some of the children had malaria and typhoid. Some of them had worms, obviously, from malnutrition. 2 of them actually have HIV. They had all kinds of diseases. They didn't have the financial support to help them. So we figured we would, and we did.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what's the typical fate of is it Ugandan? Is that the right?
Yeah, Ugandan child.
A Ugandan child when it comes to their education.
Well, we don't know much about typical Ugandan children. We just know about orphaned Ugandan children. And we found that they sometimes went to day school, sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they walked very long distances, and sometimes they didn't go at all. And for an orphan, they didn't have the love or the care or the mom to sit there and do the homework with them. And of course, it gets dark at 7 o'clock at night. There's no electricity. So there was no homeschool. There was no studying. They just barely went. So we had 10 go to boarding school in 2017. And this year in February, we got all 24 in school. And from seeing their report cards, we can tell that their education was next to nothing. I mean, you get the first report cards came back and we saw like 6s and 9s and 13s. I mean, that was...
What do you mean by that?
In their marks. Their marks were so low. Yes.
Oh, okay.
That, I mean, that was a given. They didn't have the education at their level they should have been at. And that was even putting some of the children back in junior grades that they probably should have been grade 5. And they got put in grade 2. And even then, their marks were significantly lower. And we've seen a huge improvement in the last year since they've been a full year in school and now almost a year and a half in schools. We've seen now 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s in their marks. So
cool.
It's improved a lot. So It makes us feel good about what we're doing. We know we're on the right path.
Yeah. When it comes to creating a curriculum over there, how is it similar or different from something a child would?
A curriculum? I just know what their day is like.
Okay, what's that like?
I had a great conversation with one of the head teachers of the senior school, and their day looks like they get up at 6, and then they'll do some chores. Then they prepare for the day, and then they have tea, which is their breakfast, which is just tea with a bit of sugar, and then they'll do some studies, and then they'll have lunch. So that will usually be rice and beans, or a food called pasha and beans, which is a ground cornmeal, I guess, and beans, which is very nutritional for them. It's really good that they actually get that in their bellies. And they have more studies, and then they have supper, which is almost the same food, because that's a repeat what they have over there. And then later on that night, they'll do more chores, and then more studies, and then they'll prep, and sometimes lights are out at 9:30, 11 o'clock at night. So they actually are up from 6 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock at night. Now that's the senior grades, but the junior ones are just almost similar, but not as long into the evening.
So what age groups are the junior and the senior?
We have children, there's 24 of them, so we have 20 in the junior school. One is in nursery, so they are right up to junior 6, so in all ranges of the grades. And we have 4 in the senior school. So we have 1 girl in senior 3 and 4 boys in senior 4. And they've got 2 more years before they would actually graduate.
Okay, interesting. What have been the what kind of results have you seen in terms of their experience and their quality of life?
You can't really tell from talking to a child or seeing them, because for some reason or another, whether they had nothing or whether they had everything, they always are happy. They're always smiling. They're always capable of singing a song for you. They're always happy to see you. So other than the fact that I know that they're healthier and I know that their grades are better, you would never tell from their reactions. They're always happy. And it always amazed me at how happy the children were, even though they lived in such awful, dire conditions. It used to amaze us how happy they were.
Yeah. You spent 2 years in Uganda before you started this?
No, not 2 years. 2 trips to Uganda.
2 trips.
2 trips to Uganda before we started this, yes. Yeah.
What were some massive things that you experienced that were sort of mind-shifting during those trips?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Roads of garbage. Just packed down garbage, because they don't have any garbage disposal over there. No means of getting rid of anything. And there was no smell. But there was nothing wasted. So food wasn't amongst the garbage to actually deteriorate and smell. It was just plastic and stuff that you're not advised to even bring over there. No packaging, nothing like that. They have no way of getting rid of it. So that was a real shocker. I think I was shocked at how pleasant the children were. the conditions that so many people lived in Uganda. The hot houses, the animals everywhere, the driving conditions, people coming at you everywhere. It's a different world. It's a complete different world, and it made you, when you came back, realize how lucky we were. They had nothing, and they lived and they survived, but there was a lot of death, and it was accepted easily over there. I guess it's much more acceptable over there given their conditions than it is here in Newfoundland. But it makes you have a new perspective on life, and you appreciate when you're running water, how lucky you are that you're running water. Stuff like that. It just makes you feel better about your own life. It makes you feel like you should help. There's no reason why we shouldn't or why we can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the costs like when it comes to supporting an independent child, or like the program overall?
Yeah. The boarding school is about $700 Canadian, and that actually pays for all their accommodations, their schooling, their food, all the school material that they need, their beds, the trunk that they have that puts all their stuff in. For $700 does that. So we were very fortunate. Last year we endeavored to get all 24 children in school. So we started hitting up our friends and families, and one by one, we got all 24 of them in school. We've had fantastic support from family and friends. Some individuals paid the $700 themselves to support a child.
Yeah.
And we've had groups of 6 get together and support a child. So we got all 24 of them in school that way.
Yeah. Our
fear is that we have 13 more years of keeping them all in school. So it weighs on our mind to make sure that we can accomplish that over the next 13 years. So
yeah. Is there how does a child get into the boarding school? Is there a list or something? Or?
No. We have a lady that we met when we were there last September 2016, and she is a Canadian. She's from Vancouver. Her name is Catherine, and she's there with a group called LIDA, Love is the Answer. And she's living in Uganda on the ground, working with vulnerable orphan children. And when we were there, she approached us and knew what we were doing, and she said that she was willing to help us. And if we wanted to put the children in boarding school, she would help us on the ground and make that happen. And she did. So she had good contacts with some of the better boarding schools that were there. And she went to the schools and said, hey, we've got 4 senior children. We need to put them in school. And they took them in. And we've got 20 young children need to go to boarding school. And they accepted them all. And it went from there. She makes sure that their school fees are paid. She makes sure that they have all the supplies that they need. If there's a child that's really sick, she goes, she gets them, she sees to them. She's been our angel. So one of the things that we learn is that you have to be on the ground in Uganda to make sure that your money is going exactly where you think it's going. There's obviously a lot of corruption in Uganda. You can't just drop money and walk away and expect it to go where you think it's going to go. So she's our woman. She takes care of it all for us. So we only have one more child that we're willing to put in our program. Jeremy is just 2.5, 3 years old. So when we committed to putting all the children in the orphanage to boarding school, he was still too young to go. So we're just going to wait until next year, and he'll go off to nursery school, and that's it. Yeah.
That seems like a key then, having someone on the ground to make sure everything's going smoothly.
It is key. She emails me regularly. I got a message today from her, actually, letting me know how the kids are doing. They have visitation days. She goes to see them during the visitation days. She brings them some treats. If they need any extracurricular books or anything like that, she'll bring it to them. And she keeps in contact with them. She sends us pictures. We know everything about the children at all times. So she's our connection. We don't lose track of anything. We don't lose track of money. We don't lose track of what they're doing. We don't lose track of their health. And I was just there in June past. So one of our other biggest accomplishments while we were there is that we hired a doctor at the Jinja Hospital, and he agreed for a monthly fee to visit the children once a month and go see how they are. Because in the past, we were dealing with the medical costs too, on top of having them in boarding school. And that was scary when you're hearing that some of the children have malaria so severe that they're hospitalized, or one of the children has mumps or measles and they're with all the other children. And now that became a big problem, and some of them are hospitalized. And then there's other children who were, needed to be treated for other things. It was getting expensive. And it was getting out of control. So now we have a doctor who sees to them. And now 3 months in a row since I've been back, he's given us a report. And now the reports are, this one got a sore on their foot. And this one got a cough. Way better than finding out that they're so sick with malaria that they need to be hospitalized. It's so once a month they're going to be checked on. So it's
more
a big
of a preventative measure.
It's a very big preventative measure. Yes. So Catherine was instrumental with getting that put in place also when we were there in June. So yeah, she's great. Yeah,
that's awesome. You do hear a lot about like corruption with charities, and people are oftentimes suspicious of where their money's going.
Very suspicious.
There's those like mysterious, office fees or something like that.
Quite often.
How much of that $700 goes directly to the children?
100%.
100%?
100%, yeah. We get a bill from the school. The school outlines exactly what is provided to a child. It's a big long list. From their socks and underwear and their shoes and their belts, and then they've got wash tubs and soap and their cleaner. Everything that they possibly needed is there on that list. And that amount of money that's charged by the school is exactly what we send to LEDA, and LEDA in turn pays the school. So it's great because LEDA is a registered charitable organization and H.O.P.E is not. We're not, because we didn't want to have any of our fees going towards legal fees or accountants or anything like that. All our money is 100% goes to the benefit of children. And the fortunate part of it is that our sponsors can see it. We've got our own Facebook page called H.O.P.E, of course, H.O.P.E. And you find it under Helping Orphans Prosper Through Education. And you see the pictures, and you see you see everything. Everything is there. So if anybody donated $700 to LEDA, of course, they can get a taxable receipt. But the other part is you see exactly what's going on. What can you do in Canada for $700? That's an iPad for a kid.
Yeah.
So if you see a child in boarding school and you see them in their uniform, you get their report cards. We try our best to give them the report cards. Your money's not wasted. You can't do it any cheaper than $700. So no, it's 100% of it is going to the children. Yeah. And we
amazing.
get pictures of what she brings to the children. Toilet paper, if they run out of toilet paper, if it's paper, she'll send us pictures of what she's bringing to the children.
Terrific.
Yeah. So that's one thing that we're finding a lot of people are supporting us for, because they know we're not affiliated with any other group or any organization. 100% of it goes towards the children. Yeah.
Can anyone just start a charity and start doing something like this?
Apparently so.
Yeah. Not that I'm doubting your credentials or anything, but it seems like a complicated process.
No, I do. I did work as a legal secretary for 25 years. So I do know, the process of actually incorporating a company or registering a charitable organization or the legality part of it. I am an office manager now, so I do know how to take care of money and, make sure that your money is all straight and everything like that, and banking and stuff like that. When we went, we had no intention of starting our own group, but we just started it and we moved on from there. Yeah. And it's been fantastic. We've had some really good support. We had a really good donation from the Newfoundland Labrador Building Trades, actually from the very beginning. So you don't just take that lightheartedly and just spend it here, there, and everywhere. So we figured we better do this properly, and we organized and we incorporated the company, and they provided us basically the concrete foundation in which we built on. And from there, we got donations from individuals and from companies, and we've been able to keep them in school and hopefully we'll be able to continue to keep them in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were some of the major obstacles in the beginning?
We really didn't have a major obstacle. My personal obstacle was my fear that we wouldn't be able to continue what we started. 13 years is a long time to commit to 24 children. And then once we got them in school, we learned that, wow, now we've got medical expenses too. And then all of a sudden you're wondering, what are we doing with these children after they graduate? You can't just end it there. So we've got a lot of thinking ahead of us to see what we can do to come up with some sort of sustainability. I mean, education is one thing, getting a job, making an income is another. But without the education, of course, they wouldn't even have a chance. They wouldn't have a prayer. So we're giving them the foundation they need in order to sustain themselves, but we may need to actually help them later on get to that point also. So we didn't have any roadblocks, I have to say. We move one step at a time, and we've moved ahead in a positive way, and we're continuing to get support. Just sometimes it's little bits, and sometimes the little bits are the best earned money ever, because you know that people's hearts are in it. Just last week we had a group of little boys and girls out in St. Joseph's put off a lemonade stand. They did it last year and they did it this year, and they gave us the $700 that's needed to continue with one of the young girls' education for next year. So that's one less we don't have to worry about. And we've got another friend who has a young daughter. She's probably 16 or 17, and she's autistic. And her mom is doing a phenomenal job. They themselves sponsor a child over in Uganda, one of our children. But I guess in trying to explain to her daughter what we're doing and how they're involved with that, and the good part of it, she decided she was going to sell all her puzzles. Now, she had a lot of puzzles because it was one of the things that she loves to do.
Yeah.
And she decided she was going to sell all her puzzles and give $1 for every puzzle that she sold to H.O.P.E. So it's those little things that makes it say, yeah, we're doing this right.
That's
Some
amazing.
are big amounts, but sometimes those smaller amounts are just as important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some ideas that are potential actions for after these children graduate?
Well, the younger they are, the more education that they'll get, and their opportunities are to the moon. They can do anything if they get a full education. But we've got 4 that are in senior 3 and senior 4, and they only got a couple of years ahead of them. They don't even know if it's possible to pick up the pace education-wise, where they've lacked so much. But, as long as they learn how to do math, and if they can get paid for something and know that they're getting the right amount of money for it, or as long as they can read and they can prepare a contract for a job and know that they're not being gypped, or, even if they can, learn the difference between right and wrong, and, what's wrong with corruption and how to do things properly. I mean, they can create their own business. There's all kinds of you got to see the streets of Uganda. It's little business after little business after little business. This person is selling pots. This person is selling vegetables. This person is selling doors. This person is selling fish. This person is selling coal. This person is selling bricks. If you can do any of that, but without an education, you're not going to be able to profit from it. You get squandered. You probably would fail. But, they can start their own business, and maybe there's something that we can do to help them along that way. It could be a brick building company. It could be a welder. It could be anything like that. It could be a trade as opposed to, but who knows? The sky's the limit. You got to give them their education first, and then they'll take off from there.
Are they exclusively learning in their native tongue, or are they
No,
learning
when they
English
go to school, they learn English.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uganda has many different native tongues, but English is their primary. Yeah. They learn English in school.
So is it just right off the bat? They're just
Right off the bat.
Awesome.
Yeah, right from kindergarten, they learn English in school. When you go to schools, everything on the board is in English. Yeah.
Does that go for other schools over there as well, or is that just your boarding school?
Oh no, that's all the schools.
Okay, cool.
That's all the schools.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they all learn English. So it's very easy.
Yeah.
Everybody, and when you're there, I know they see white people as people who are over there willing to help. So that goes two ways. They know you're there to help, and they can take advantage of you. But as long as you know the difference, they treat you so good. They love seeing white people that are coming over to help because we're there to help. So it's a very positive atmosphere when you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the name of the place in Uganda?
Jinja.
Jinja?
Jinja.
How do you spell that?
Jinja. The main, you fly into Entebbe, and that's almost everybody hears of Entebbe. That's in Uganda. There's a movie coming out soon about Entebbe, but Kampala is one of the biggest cities, and Jinja is just about a couple of hours away from that. So the 20 children are in the junior school in Jinja, very close to where the orphanage is. But the 4 older children are in school in Tororo, which is about 3 hours north of that. And Catherine, who was our helper and our angel over there, she lives in Mbale, which is close to Tororo, but it's still a good ways away from Jinja. But she'll still travel it back and forth by dirt roads to make sure that children have what they need.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing place to see. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful place to see, actually. So much poverty, but so much happiness all at one time. It just blows your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, you must get a crazy sense of how well a human being could adapt to.
Absolutely. Especially when you see children, little tiny children, carrying around little children, and you don't even know where their parent is, but they're doing a much better job of taking care of that child than we would, for sure. Yeah. They're very adaptable to their surroundings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be hard to look at a kid here who's like complaining about their
It is
anything.
It is.
And you're just like, you have no idea.
You have no idea. And how many times have I said that I wish some of the high schools, when they take their students off to different parts of the world, it would be nice for them to actually go to a place like Uganda.
Yeah.
And experience what life they have. Some of them will probably get a better appreciation for what they've actually received.
Yeah.
For nothing, Yeah. Some of the generation now don't really appreciate how lucky they are. I mean, some of our teenagers are going around with new cars and trips down south and iPads and top-notch everything. Yeah. It's just, when they say it's a world away, that doesn't necessarily mean in miles. That's just...
Perspective.
Is it ever different, for sure.
Wow. That's amazing. I think what you're doing is incredible, and we need more people like you.
Well, not just me. We've got a large circle of family and friends, so we wouldn't be able to do it without them.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Like I said, it's easy. It was so easy to do. I can't believe how easily we stepped into this position. But even though it's easy, it provides sleepless nights worrying about it because you're not quite sure. You're shocked that, oh my goodness, what have I taken on? But, we're doing it. We're doing it. I think we're doing it well. Yeah.
Congratulations and
Thank
thanks.
You. Oh, no. I won't say no problem, but it's very worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody who's involved with it are really happy that they can make that little part in making the world a better place. Yep.
So if people want to help out, what's the best way to go? They
can always contact us on our Facebook site. Like I said, it's H.O.P.E, Helping Orphans Prosper Through Education. It's open. Anybody can make a comment. If anybody wanted to contact us through that, that's the easiest way.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right, you heard it, guys. Go to the Facebook page for H.O.P.E. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation. For any and all past episodes, be sure to search Curious Jord on your favorite podcasting app. You can also find me on any of those time-consuming and soul-sucking social media platforms by searching Curious Jord Podcast. please remember to like and share this episode online if you've enjoyed it. It really helps spread the word. Thanks again for tuning in. Cheers.